Can you hear me, Ted?
Yeah, hey.
How you doing?
So you were
One
telling
sec.
me a little bit about your today's visit and that you sort of feel like that you got the comfort consult solid. You're still learning, but you're
Yeah, I would say I've jumped up from a belt level. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm at the black belt, but I'd say I'm definitely working my way there for the comfort console.
nice.
Yeah, a lot more repetition, I think, and
So today's
sticking to the
job
process.
was
Yeah,
27,000, and what would you say your closing rate is? Is that sort of the average job size, would you say?
I'd say, yeah, typically around that. A low end on my comfort consoles, typically not any lower than like 15 to 16,000. So it's
Okay.
kind of in low end 15 to 16 to high end to like the 30 to 35 range.
Okay. What's your highest sale?
Just a little bit over 50,000.
Okay. So, and what's the closing ratio, do you think, on your comfort consults?
I get a lot of proactive people like these guys initially told me that they weren't looking to, it was more of an information thing. They had a bulletin furnace that was still operational. The heat exchanger was still, it had hot spots on it, but was still, the secondary, what, there was no issues. um so he was just looking to get, a game plan for when they planned on replacing. And then I went back. I give the option to return to go over the report with them, and they wanted to utilize that. And they ended up making a decision right then and there, after we went over the report.
Right, because comfort consults are sort of like stacking cordwood.
Yeah.
They come on a cold day, and
Yep.
you need like they just who knows when they're going to drop.
Yeah.
What's your
So I would
longest wait
say,
period?
well, I had one that was like 7 months. I ran it earlier in the summer last year, and it closed late December and went in early January of this year. Um, that's
So if
been
you're
my
trying to
longest one so
figure out
far.
your closing ratio, it's hard because a lot of these jobs aren't lost. They're just
Yeah.
just dormant.
Yep.
Okay. So, and now you're getting to the point where you're starting to lean into the free quote process, even though, so it's
Yeah.
changed a bunch of times, right?
Yes.
And it's kind of hard to keep up with all the changes because they're coming fast and furious.
Right.
So, what are some of the changes recently that you've noticed? And what do you
So
think about?
there's the smiley faces, that was, there was a little hiccup there, and then with the load ranging as well. I would like to, me personally, I would like to, something I would like to work on would be leaning in as much to the comfort con or the path A as I did the path B, to really hammer it down. Um, and I feel like I would get better with repetition as well.
That's what
Just
we
like the,
encourage people to do too, by the way, is exactly what you're doing, which is learn it the way it is, get good at it the way it is, and then freestyle. Like
yeah,
once you're a brown belt, you can freestyle, but when you're a white belt, there are too many ways you can go off the rails and get yourself in trouble, and you don't really understand mindset. And so getting
right.
like, and then anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
And I think, we had a conversation about backsliding back into hero. For me
Right.
personally, a lot, when you run a lot of comfort consults, I got a decent amount of those under my belt now, and you start to run into a lot of houses we have a lot of neighborhoods that are big cul-de-sacs that were built by the same builders. So each house is really the same. It just might have different colored siding, or this house might have had an upgrade to add a basement where the neighbors didn't, right? So something that I
The
caught
problems are
myself
the
doing,
same.
yeah, something I caught myself doing even on free quotes where I would go in and see the equipment sizing and I'm like, well, you need to go down. You need to do this, right? And
Right.
caring more than the client does in a sense. That's
Not
something that
having
I've caught
them,
myself.
not giving them time to catch up to you.
Yeah. Yeah. So and just try not to be the hero there, right? Give the education and let them make the decision that works best for them. And that's something that I stick hard to even on my comfort console.
Well, it's
That I
easier in the comfort console because it's built so
Yeah,
solidly for you and you have plenty of time so that
yeah,
you all of these steps allow you to responsibly avoid responsibility. Whereas in the free quote, the responsibly avoiding responsibility comes at you fast and furious, and you better stick to those little pieces.
yes. Like even the comfort console I just closed, their house is a little bit over a 2 ton load right now, but with like some pretty easy airs. There's two rooms that had some knee wall, like really crappy doors to them. Like if they fix those rooms, I'm very confident that they can get and under that 2 ton range. So I reversed that back to the client on, what do you guys want? Because they have a 2.5 ton right now, and they wanted to go variable. So there's no half ton sizing. It's either you go down to a 2 or you step up a half ton to a 3. I give them that option, even though I did a comfort consult and did an actual load calculation, right? I give, what do you guys want to do there? And they made that option. So, like, I had a comfort cons or a path A visit where, in a sense, I was almost trying to nudge her and I would say force her to downsize, but I was trying to talk her there, if that makes sense.
Right. You
Guide
were
her
trying to sell her
more than I
instead of
should.
just giving her the guidance of which path she wanted.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
and to some extent, that may create resistance where the process would avoid it.
Yes.
And so by not being the hero, by being the guide, and this is the thing that you and I were trying to work through. When
Yeah.
people try to take control of your process, that's if you don't have a good way of sort of in a nice way saying, um, so I only know these two processes. And if you want some kind of a different process, I can't really help you. And one of our processes is for free. And that's a free quote
Right.
process where we help you develop your ideal specification if you don't have one. And so we come
Yeah.
out to give you a free quote and we ask what your specification is. And if you don't have one, we have a micro process that allows us to help you make some decisions about what your ideal specification looks like. So then we can give you a bid. And by
Yeah.
the way, when you have this ideal specification, you can take it to other people. And now because you have this ideal specification, you can get multiple bids that are apples to apples.
Right. And I think that's after talking through and kind of workshopping that with you, that was one of the biggest takeaways that I've got. Because a lot of, especially like in this time of year where, well, the weather in Indiana has been like super sporadic, but last week it was like 70 in the 70s.
Right.
So it's kind of taken that. that nudge off of the homeowner to where they have a lot more time, especially on free quotes to shop, right? And I've seen it before where I may be the second or the third guy in, and by asking the homeowner if is it okay if we build your ideal specification, that's a way, like what you just said, for them to get apples to apples quotes to where, because a lot of times I'll quote a two-stage system and they're referencing the price on that to, like, say I quote a two-stage 60K, they'll reference that price to a single stage 80, right?
Right, right.
And
That's
those
not
are
apples to
those are
apples,
apples to
folks.
pears. Yeah.
You're going to
So
be much happier with a two-stage 60 in this 1,300 square foot house than you're going to be with a one-stage 80.
yeah,
I can almost guarantee that.
yeah. So that's something that, after talking through that, I think it would be really beneficial. And then that gives them, you're asking the client, is it okay if, well, first, do you have an ideal specification? And if you don't, would you like to build an ideal specification so you can get those comparative quotes, right? Because homeowners don't understand initially the all the verbiage and all of that, right? So if we're able
Right.
to break that down to them and they're able to understand what it is exactly that they would like to have in their home, and maybe price is the only objection, that makes it to where it puts kind of all of the contractors on a level playing field, right? So this is exactly what I want. I want this system, this return drop, uh, these
This filter,
features.
humidification,
Yeah,
etc. Fresh air.
correct. So that's a way for, to keep that conversation with the client to adults. That way nobody's going back to child or anything like that, right?
Well, plus there should be some built-in a significant amount of gratitude because you're providing a really valuable service
Right, for free.
for free. And what a lot of the guys are doing is they're offering to take static pressure so the homeowner better understands, like, hey, you probably shouldn't lean towards the red on your likely load range unless you're comfortable spending ten to $15,000 replacing your ductwork,
Right.
because that's the risk you're exposing yourself to.
Yep.
Like, and they're charging 25 or $50 for doing that, which is going to be $150 service call if they want to get that done at some other time.
Right.
So, and then there's the 60-second video, which explains the importance of static pressure. And that's a third-party video. So it's not you saying it.
Yeah.
It's Nate the House Whisperer saying it.
Correct.
It's not me. I have no relationship to this guy, Nate. So if you don't believe him, go find somebody else that talks about static pressure. This is this is just the best consumer explanation I've found. He does a
Yeah.
very nice job of condensing it into a very short piece. And when it comes to the 6 functions, which are going to match to the smiley face choices, you'd like to have a better understanding of how the 6 functions of HVAC give you your smiley faces. This video is under 5 minutes.
Right.
And this is a 15 to 20-year decision you're about to make here. Maybe you want to think about spending an additional 5 minutes to better understand it.
Right. Exactly
It's
what
up to
you're getting
you.
into.
Say it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. I was just saying, why spend the extra 5 minutes to get a better grasp and understanding of exactly what it is that what exactly it is that they're getting into.
Right. And this will make you more qualified when you're trying to design your ideal specification. Because part of
Right.
these different specification matrices is price. And we're going to give you kind of a price range so that you can move things around and get your ideal one so that we're not bidding to something you don't want. We're going to create the price specific to the equipment that you feel you can comfortably afford. And then we'll get, so it's a narrowing in process. What we're going to help you do is narrow in on a custom tailored solution to fit you.
Yeah.
So, and we got to keep like working on this narrative, I think. We need to work on it for both the homeowners so that they can understand it comfortably, but also salespeople. Um, and one of the
Yeah.
things that I think we're trying to work towards is a situation where we've, in an ethical way, moved the blower door test to after the equipment replacement without putting too much risk, and definitely without putting risk on the homeowner that they're not aware of. So
Right.
we don't want to put too much risk on them, and we also don't want them to have risks they're not aware of.
Yeah.
Um, Kevin Hart today um, asked a question. Are blower doors a precision tool where a less precise tool would often suffice if it were a fraction of the effort or cost? And I'm thinking likely load range is that less precise tool that he's
Yeah.
referring to. Um, and because otherwise, who decides what tool to pull out? Contractor, the consumer, or both? And how do they decide? Those questions are kind of answered by likely load range, green, yellow, red. Um,
Yeah.
Other
I
guys are
feel like it.
thinking things like once you get to 1,000 square foot per ton, you're likely to have so much control of the house that they have a decent thermal envelope, so you're always going to land in the green if they're already
Yeah.
there. Like 1,000 square foot a ton, you're probably not going to need a blower door on that house. Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah. I would agree with that.
Um, I love these conversations on Slack. It's such like smart, experienced people with little bit, every one of them has a little bit different perspective that they can bring to the conversation. Reedy
Right.
says, it depends on what they want, what problems they have, how important the problems are to them. It all really depends. Then I asked, you know, I mentioned that he's always been one of our primary sources of intuition on how numbers unfold, including the closing rates, average job size, etc. And you're a big help with that too, because you're doing primarily comfort consults. Um,
Yeah.
with the initial free quote process, if I recall correctly, the comfort consult blower door numbers went from 30% of leads to 10% of leads. Now, with likely load range, green, yellow, red, it seems like these numbers cut by 2/3 again, going from 10% to 3%. Is that correct? And he said he thinks that's a fair understanding of what has happened. It's really good to have the blower door as an offer decline because of the complete aspect of it. And most HVAC contractors don't have that. They don't care.
Right.
They don't know what a blower door is. They are in effect incomplete. That's not to say that they can't give the customer good experiences and rave reviews, because variable capacity equipment covers a lot of inadequacy. It is to say that customers do respect a complete HVAC contractor, provided they have a process. I mean, I love Reedy. He's just
Yeah,
such a
he's got.
good guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I think we're getting really close to being able to communicate these things effectively to people who don't understand what HVAC2 is. And I've been talking to Jason about this, and he talks about Rubik's Cube and the 3 across Rubik's Cube and the 4 across Rubik's Cube. And it's like, you don't need to. So he teaches people how to use Rubik's Cubes, and he has a way of teaching them how to solve the Rubik's Cube that
Yeah.
if they put their mind to it and commit, they can learn how to do it. Now, can he explain everything behind the teaching? No, but do they need to understand that, or do they just want to get the Rubik's Cube done?
Yeah. That's a good
So,
analogy there.
so he's thinking that HVAC 2.0 free quote process is sort of like teaching somebody how to use a Rubik's Cube. Like, do you want your revenue per lead to go up 25 to 100%? Like, Reedy keeps having these $12,000 revenue per lead months.
That's awesome.
$12,000 of revenue per lead run.
Yeah.
And that's with like less than 10% comfort consults.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, and Jason also, like last I know, was above 10 still. And before HVAC 2.0, he had a not unimpressive $6,200 revenue per lead. You know, it's a good number.
Right.
So just for reference sake, you know, these guys aren't. I'm not. These aren't the worst salespeople in the group. Typically, they're the best already.
Yeah.
But I don't think that doesn't mean that an average salesperson could do this and pick it up. It's just a Rubik's Cube. Follow the steps. Learn how to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's something that even if I go back to when I initially started the 2.0 process, not knowing really anything about it. It's very, you guys have mapped it out very easily to where you're able to, all you got to do is read. There's a script there in front of you. Uh, with, I'm not if I know somebody, I could sit there and just chop it up and have a conversation for hours. But with strangers, it's I could stumble on my words a bit. I'm not the best like public speaker or anything, right? So that was like a lifesaver for until you get comfortable with everything. It's all you got to do is read it and stick to that process. So it's yeah, I feel like anybody can kind of dive into it.
I'm super grateful for you. I'm super grateful
Appreciate it.
to be able to see the experience through your eyes and that you're sharing it like this. You know,
Yeah,
it's because
it's been a game changer.
I'm not in sales anymore. So I have to live vicariously through your guys' experiences. And so I know that you're about to get to your next call, so
Yeah. Yep.
we got to end it pretty soon. But I want to express like my deep gratitude for you
I appreciate
sharing
it,
this
Ted, and I
information.
appreciate all the help. That's you had said the conversations and the groups, and that's something that's also been a tool. You have multiple people that a lot of good experience and knowledge that you're able to kind of bounce things off of. So I appreciate all the help that you guys have given me. It's been a life changer for sure.
Oh, it's exciting. How are you doing so far this year?
So last month was a bit of a slow month for me. First in January, I knocked the goal out of the park, exceeded that by about $20,000, a little bit more than 20. And this month, man, so last month was a bit slower. I
Did
was a
you
little
hit your
shy of
target?
my goal. No, I was a little shy. I had a
And how
guy
many
that
leads did you have?
I haven't. That's something I honestly need to get better at tracking on a monthly basis. Typically,
Yeah.
I we get a report sent to us that shows us all that information. I
I
kind of
mean, if
wait
you're
till I
doing
get that report.
5,000 revenue per lead and you don't make a goal, that's the company's fault. They didn't give you enough leads.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
had
they
a
shouldn't be
guys.
giving company goals. They should be giving revenue per lead goals and then just
Yeah.
feed in you leads. And then they should be responsible to you for a minimum number of leads, in my opinion. Like any company that doesn't give people 250 to 300 leads per year should probably pay
Mhm.
them for the leads they shorted.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to make a living?
Right. Uh, I had a guy that was a Comfort Console I did earlier in the month, and he was on the fence, man. If I could have sold it at the end of last month, it would have got me like right at the goal.
Would have
And
got
he
you there.
called me. Yeah, he called me on March 1st and
Oh,
accepted an estimate. So it started off March good anyway. So
okay.
and I've been
Yeah.
chugging through since then. So I think it'll be a good month for sure this month.
So we're only 1 week into March. How close are you to hitting your goal?
Halfway there.
Ah, nice. Feels good,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Well, thank you, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Ted. Thank you very much, man.
Good talking to you, Austin.
You too. Bye.
Bye.